Hello, my name's Scott Davis and welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for June 22nd to June 28th of 2014. Human design is the synthesis of four ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path in making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. So let's take a moment just to look at how these systems work together in human design. We start by looking at the sun, the planets, the nodes in the wheel, much like we would in astrology, except instead of comparing them and relating them to zodiological constellations or to each other by the angles that they make, we look at them in relationship to the hexagrams of the I Ching, which are these stacks of 6 lines on the outside of the circle. Those then are mapped to specific locations in the body graph here. And on June 22nd, we have the sun right here. It's in Cancer. It's in the 15th gate here, 15th hexagram, which is the stack of lines out here at the bottom, and they're numbered from bottom to top. This one goes yin, yin, yang, yin, 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 and that then activates a gate in the body graph, and the 15th hexagram is located right here. So basically, what we're looking at here is the body graph. These shapes inside of it are called centers, and they represent our next stage in evolution as human beings, from having the 7 chakras that most of us know about to currently having 9 centers. And this is a mutation that happened in 1781, coincidental with Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus. The pathways between the centers are called channels, and they're from the Kabbalah. These black strips of paper in the diagram represent gates that are being activated by the sun, the planets, the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not following the moon in these demonstrations because that would just add a level of complexity that would make these reports hours and hours long, since that the moon activates 3 to 4 gates in a single day. We start, we've got the sun. It's in the 15th hexagram, and it's mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And this is the 15th gate of extremes, modesty, the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. It's located in the G center in a collective logic energy path in the understanding circuit called the channel of rhythm, a design of being in the flow that connects with the 5th gate down here, which is the gate of fixed rhythms, waiting. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person. So I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on June 22nd. Like we have the sun in the 15th gate. The earth is in the 10th gate. We have the north node in the 50th gate. The south node in the 3rd gate. Mercury is in the 12th gate here. And then we have Venus in the 8th gate, Mars in the 48th gate, Jupiter in the 62nd gate, and Uranus is in the 51, Neptune is in the 37, and Pluto is in the 38. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information is really helpful if you know your human design chart, because these transits will form, some of these transits might form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com. Click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and then just enter in your birth information. Basically, the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. So no matter what the weather that's going on, the individual's strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather's going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. As we begin the week, we have one channel definition. We have Venus in the 8th hexagram and Saturn in the 1st gate. and this is the channel of inspiration. The energy will be present with us until the 23rd, which will be a time period when people will have the courage to stand out from the crowd by being their authentic self. This is very creative and is exhibited as a self-expression in their own unique way. As an individual channel, it brings empowerment to those who model being different and inspirational. So you might expect this to be a time period where people will dress differently from the crowd. And this is the first of 4 individual channels that we're going to experience this week due to the transits of the heavenly bodies. So whenever there's individual circuitry, there's the potential for melancholy, which is like feeling a little down, feeling a little blue. It's energy that's best used for creativity. And this week we're going to have Mars moving into the 57, and the Earth, of course, is in the 10. And then followed later in the week, we will have Venus moving into the 20, which brings a great deal of activation in the integration channels. And these channels represent the foundation of our biodiversity as an evolutionary shift that separates humans from other mammals, a development that occurred when humans began to walk upright. These integration channels are characterized as selfish, but it's the purpose of this being self-centered is for survival. And it's not just the survival of the form, the physicality, it's also the survival of the integrity of the person, particularly because, like all individual circuitry, there's these gates are deaf. They don't hear the other, so that they're not being subject to being conditioned to meet the wishes of the tribe or the collective. Their keynotes tell this story. The 10th gate is I love myself. The 34th gate over here is that I empower myself. And the 57th gate is I listen to my intuition. And then the 20th gate up here is I do it all in the now. This is self-absorbed and self-centered quality is not concerned for others. This is about following it in its own path. People with these channels defined are here to live in the now through their ancient impulse for survival. We're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values because on a daily basis in this report, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come through the sun. And as Ross said in Design Perspectives number 56 in his presentation titled Living with the Program with Ra-Uhu, the lines of the day, when he was talking about the shifts of these line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. But of course, if your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, you can just always notice how the program's affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. June 22nd, we have the sun. It's in the 15th gate of extremes, modesty, the behavior which is expresses the proper balance between extremes. The sun is in the 3rd line of this hexagram, which is the line is called ego inflation. The risk that modesty, once recognized, will self-destruct, exalted. It's where the otherwise negative, contrived modesty is here reinforced by recognition and maintained as effective strategy. The extremism of the self as a strategy to control the flow. Detriment, it's the I told you so mentality. The capacity of the spirit to point out the extremes of others. And this is the line of the martyr. 3rd line days. It's a time to be careful on the roads, be careful swinging doors, swinging elbows, things in your environment. It's a day where bonds might be made and broken. 3rd line days are about trial and error and that things bump into you, so things are happening on the material world. So this could be a good day for business or work on the material plane, but you really should be careful because things can go wrong, but these things that do go wrong are there to lead us to discovery. And then later on the 22nd, the sun moves into the 4th line, the line of the opportunist of the 15th hexagram. This shift is at 9:34 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All the times I'm going to be giving you in this report are going to be Eastern Daylight Time, so you want to adjust it to your local time zone so you're in tune with the shifts and can notice what's going on in your environment. The fourth line of the 15 is described as the wall power. Modesty is a shield against exposure of inadequacy. Exalted, a genuine form that may or may not mask inadequacies. The uncomfortableness of the self, that when it's out of the flow, when it's out of the flow. Detrimented and ultimately weak defense leading to exposure and humiliation. Extremism, that the self is out of the flow. And fourth line days, this is a shift because the first three lines are personal and the lower trigram, and then we're moving up into the upper trigram, which is transpersonal. So the fourth line day, the shift changes from an inward perspective to looking outward. We've got themes of friendship, of companionship, of networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are more open to networking, to being friendly and social. Also on the 22nd, Mars moves from the 48th gate up into the 57. And so we have some changes that occur with that. And in human design, Mars is an extraordinary and immature energy resource. It lacks refinement. It demands that we slowly refine the energy to maturity over time by following our strategy and authority. Mars energy is subject to outbursts. It's in the 57, the gentle, the extraordinary power of clarity. It's detrimented in both the fourth and sixth lines. Overall, this brings more energy to our intuitive insight. And with Mars in the 57 and the Earth in the 10, we have the channel of the perfected form until the 25th. This is the design for survival where behavior becomes art. The defined splenic center here brings, a sense of intuition and well-being for those of us who don't have a defined splenic center. And Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. The influence has as a transit may be that folks need to perfect their form, however they define that, whether it's their bodies, their work, their home, their art, whatever form means to them. So this brings the love for art and that is created simply for the enjoyment of the artist. Folks may find that they have more of an ability to think on their feet under this influence. On the 23rd, the sun moves into the fifth line of the 15th hexagram at 9:08 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 15.5 is described as sensitivity, the ability to sense when otherwise balanced behavior must be adjusted to meet the requirements of changing environment. It's exalted the power to grow, the capacity of the self to grow through experiencing the extremes. Detrimented the tendency to overcompensate, the drive of the self to overcompensate and disturb the flow. Fifth line days are heretical. It's a day of suspicion, but also a day of universalization. So something could leak out and spread like a virus, like a YouTube video or a Facebook posting or something like that. There's also a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on the fifth line day due to the projection field. Basically if people are projecting on you, projections positive then negative, it's not really paranoia if they are out to get you. So anyway, and seduction is also a theme of a fifth line day. So also on the 23rd, the north node moves from the 50 to the 32, and the south node moves from the 3 to the 42. So that's pretty significant. And then Venus moves from the 8 to the 20. So even with the shift, all the centers stay the same. So Ra talked about the nodes being openings for neutrino energy from outside of our solar system and to be representative of our environment. So the nodes are almost always retrograde, so the shift represents moving from the first line of one hexagram to the sixth line of the previous hexagram. The north node in the 32 is activating the energy of continuity, duration. The only thing that endures is change. And in the 42, the south node is about growth. It's an increase, the expansion of resources, which maximizes the development of full potential. And Ra related that to having these transiting nodes in the 32 and the 42 represents a major shift that occurs as the 32 brings completion to something that was begun 18 years ago. Also in the 32, also Venus moving from the 8 into the 20 hexagram. In human design, Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It brings morality, natural law, in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you at the moral level? Well, your personality, your design and personality Venuses will tell you sort of about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life. And if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be actually unkind in its retribution. In the 20th hexagram, Venus is exalted in the first and second lines. Venus in the 20th gate is about the now, contemplation, recognition and awareness that in the now transforms understanding into right action. Venus in the 20, in the first line here is superficiality, a reliance on shallowness, exalted, the rising of superficiality to an art form, the sloganeer, superficial expression as an art form. With Venus in the 20 and the Earth in the 10th gate, we have the channel of awakening until the 25th. This brings the commitment to higher principles where there's nothing more important than being yourself regardless of the cost. Being individual empowers others. By being an individual, we can empower others just simply by being ourselves. This may influence people to feel more love and self-acceptance, but it can also influence people to feel self-hatred. It's a projected channel, so it needs to be invited to be expressed, to express itself. And when your behavior, and when you do, your behavior is going to suit the situation. When the self-expression is uninvited, it's likely to meet resistance. For folks who have this natally, it feels that when their words are criticized, that their identity is also being criticized. This is about recognition. So you might see more attention-seeking behavior from folks during this time period. And then we also have Venus, of course, in that 20, is connecting with Mars in the 57, which is so this brings us the channel of the brainwave until the 28. Again, we have splenic definition and the themes of well-being and intuition and being another projected channel. It needs to be invited to be shared. So if during this time period you see the truth, it doesn't mean that you're here to share it. This brings a very sharp intuition connected to the throat that motivates, moves so fast that the brain cannot understand it until afterwards. It brings an intuitive adaptation to essential survival in those who have it in their rave charts. Folks may find that they can intuit answers that bring wisdom if they can release their fear of the unknown. But if they just blurt out these epiphanies without an invitation, then they're likely to find misunderstanding and resistance. On the 24th, the sun moves into the 6th line. So we're up here in the role model line of the 15th hexagram. The shift is at 8:43 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 15/6 is self-defense, modesty that is never confused with weakness, exalted, consistent re-examination to weed out the weakest aspects, the power of the self in exploring extremes to find the weakest point, detriment, a tendency to use harmony as a weapon in problem situations rather than focusing on the root cause, the power of the self to ignore the weakest point in favor of harmony. And 6-line days are, Ra talks about don't get stuck with your head in the clouds because you're going to have something run into your kneecaps. It's a day when there's kind of a lack of focus. We're looking forward to what's coming on next, what's going on, maybe not so much what's happening right now and around us, because folks are looking beyond their immediate environments. And Ra talks about like 3rd-line days, a certain danger of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. On the 25th, the sun moves from the 15th hexagram, 15, to the 52nd, right here. And the Earth moves over 10. The center is no longer defined, and it moves into the 58 down. Right. Anyway, so we've got the moon in the 58th gate of aliveness, not the moon, I'm sorry, the Earth in the 58th gate of aliveness, the joyous, and this shift happens at 8:18 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we have the sun in the 52nd gate of inaction, keeping still, mountain, temporary and self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment. The sun is in the 1st line of the 52. Think before you speak. Exalted, the pause that is so profound that it leads to silence. The pacification of energy that leads to stillness. Detriment is speaking first and living with the consequences afterwards. The energy that cannot be stilled. And so we've moved into a new hexagram, so we are now in the lower trigram. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd line days, people are looking inward. They're absorbed in their own process. Themes of the 1st line day is fear. It's anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act, a day to look into things, not to jump at stuff, a good day to deal with the things you don't understand, can't make sense of, or just don't know. And then on the 26th, the sun moves into the 2nd line. So it's moved out of the line of the investigator and into the line of the hermit. This shift happens at 7:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 52:2 is described as a concern, exalted, the pause that is initiated to benefit others, the pressure to restrain energy for the benefit of others, detrimented, a selfish and abrupt pause that may endanger others unnecessarily, the pressure to selfishly restrain energy at the expense of others. 2nd line days are this is the hermit. People are waiting for a call. People people are kind of doing their own thing. They're in their own trip. So it's really maybe not the best day to have a big social gathering because folks really want to just stay home under that 12th line energetic. The 27th, the sun moves up into the 3rd line, so we're back to the line of the martyr, in this case in the 52nd hexagram, which is controls. external enforcement of inaction, exalted, the ability by its very nature to understand restraint with the potential in acceptance to use the period to refine strategies. The energy for acceptance in inaction, detriment, a deep dissatisfaction with controls that disturb tranquility, leads to emotional withdrawal and affects vision. The pressure of restraint that disturbs tranquility. The shift happens at 7:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and again, third line days are. It's about being careful, in your environment, whether they're on the road or in walking through a building or out in the woods or whatever. Again, it's the days when bonds are made and broken, trial and error process, things bump into you. But whatever does go wrong, just realize that it has this quality of what can you discover from that experience under that third line energy. The 28th, the sun moves into the fourth line. So again, and we're still doing the 57th hexagram. The shift is at 7:02 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and is described as self-discipline, exalted, perfected self-discipline, and the restraint that deals easily and wisely with impulsive temptations. The energy for restraint, which recognizes the value of stillness and focus, detrimented, though responsive to the need of a principled control based on understanding of conditions, there is a tendency due to its natural expansiveness to doubt and restlessness. Restless energy and doubt in the face of restraint. And fourth line days, again, we're moving from that inward perspective to the outward perspective. We're talking friendship, companionship, networking, being social, being friendly. Those are all the energies that we might experience under the fourth line energetic. And then on the 28th, Venus now moves from the 20th gate to the 16th. So with the shift, we're going to define centers by transits. And like we talked about before, Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood. In human design is virality, natural law, and the way in which we deal with the other and the consequences of being in the world. In the 16th gate, this is about skills. Up here, this is enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. Venus in the 16, and it's in the first line, it's delusion, false enthusiasm, exalted, the daydreamer, the expression of talent through daydreaming, detrimented, the public communication, inevitably unrealized claims. The tendency to express fantasy as fact. So the sun continues. We're continuing our journey through the 15 and the 52 and the 39 and the 53. And so these are the gates that are associated with Pravati, God's head. It's the third God's head of the quarter civilization, which, as we talked about before, is the most yin location in the wheel. This is the feminine, the mother, the birth of civilization emerging from the womb, the goddess that bestows the qualities of civilization. But it kind of brings this energy, this projection of it, that the work is up to the female, that the work is up to the form. It becomes a distortion that the mind creates, from which the mind creates the patriarchy. The mind believes that it controls the form, and civilization brings the belief that males are going to control females. And all the gods' heads of the quarter of civilization are goddesses. The quarter of civilization is described as from womb to room. Pravati is the Hindu goddess of hearth, home, marriage, felicity, devotion of the female to the spouse, and fertility. She's Shiva's wife and Vishnu's sister, and she's considered to be benevolent, but she also has a wrathful incarnations such as Kali being one who we've discussed previously in the wheel. This illustrates the duality of the fair one, that is the calm and placid wife, but can transform into her primal, fierce, angry nature of Kali, standing uncloaked with her foot on her husband's chest. But Parvati is really the other end of that spectrum. In the quarter of civilization, she represents how the mind distorts the energy that subjugates the female form. The mind asserts its superiority over the form, through even though the form represents the life force. In males, this is seen as Parvati giving license to not be as responsible for the relationship, or put as much energy into taking care of hearth and home, or in taking care of the family as the female. The female's responsibility, according to the mental programming, is that in order for the family to survive, to thrive, that the woman maintains that while the mind has the opportunity to wander and explore. And this distortion becomes it's appropriate for men to wander and explore, and it's up to the woman to keep men happy. It's up to the form to keep the mind happy. Now, the gift of following your strategy and authority is we're returning the control to the form. So no matter what these energies are that are conditioning you during the week, just remember that this experience is about being a passenger riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So just enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas are beckoning to distract us. I know we're all just giving the performance of our lifetime on this world stage. Just remember to take some time to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as acting your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having this human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on June 29, 2014. Should be available by the 28th, when we're going to continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube. New World Birth has pages in each one of those places. I encourage you to share this information, whether it's as videos or from the text, as widely as you choose. I'm going to be discussing the transits of July 2014 and providing short human design readings, 10 to 15 minute readings, to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebel Show on Truth Frequency Radio on Tuesday, July 1st. The show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I come on at 1:30. The show is until 3. It's great. If you want to participate in the show, just go into the chat room for the Earth Needs Rebels, and you can message to Katie. And if you want a personal message to Katie, your phone number, they'll call you for free anywhere on the planet to actually bring you on the show. But otherwise, you can just communicate with it in chat if you got questions or you want to get a reading. Anyway, I invite you to contact me also at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me, because I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll either need to be able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect on Skype to receive your reading. These are epic readings. I mean, they start at usually around 2 hours, and sometimes they go quite a bit longer than that. And I've tried to price them very reasonably. If you're feeling that you would like to have some guidance about anything that I'm offering, please contact me. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Best way to give us a donation, get a reading. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey in this current incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, and Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. So anyway, hope to connect with you in the future, and just really grateful for your attention and time to what I'm offering. Peace, everybody.